I've been keen for a while to do a little video to show you how to go about restringing a slotted headstock on a steel string guitar. But firstly, I thought it might be interesting to talk a little bit more generally about them. As you may already be aware, slotted headstocks on steel string guitars in particular aren't that common, and several people have been quite surprised when they see one on a Turnstone guitar. The most common question I get is, does it actually even work on a steel string guitar? To answer this, we'll need the briefest of history lessons. Steel string guitars evolved from the classical nylon guitar world and therefore followed on from their tradition in their design having slotted headstocks. I may be wrong in my assumption here, and I know that someone out there will be more than willing to correct me in the comments, but I believe it's the ushering in of the mass manufacturing movement that actually made solid headstocks on acoustic guitars so popular. Quite simply, they're a bit easier to make. So to answer the original question, in short, yes, they work absolutely fine on steel string guitar. Ease of manufacturing isn't why I got into this crazy guitar making game though, so after I'd built about a dozen guitars, I thought life was just getting a little bit too easy. Said no luthier ever. So I thought, let's design a headstock for a Turnstone guitar. It can be a tricky thing to design, so I took the fundamental measurements such as post distance away from the nut, string angles, splay paths from a Hauser slotted headstock design that I got from this Making Master Guitars book, and I developed it from there. I really like the elegant look of a slotted headstock, and for those that are interested, it also has a couple of potential benefits for the player. For instance, if the player is sensitive to the weight of the neck, or the neck material is going to be significantly heavier than the body, you might want to consider a slotted headstock to balance out the feel of the guitar a little bit. The removal of a fair amount of wood does leave the headstock feeling much lighter, and often the tuners are actually lighter than solid head equivalents. A more contentious area is the relation to the string break angle for slotted headstocks. Some argue that once the string is broken over the nut, job done. Others say that with the increased break angle applied an increase in force onto the nut, which in turn is the anchor of your strings to the neck, the vibrational energy down the neck, back to the guitar, resulting in a potentially improved acoustic response. I feel like I do lean a little bit more towards the break angle sound argument, but I don't have physical tests and evidence to back this up. So I'd really love to hear if you guys have any more thoughts on that, and jump in the comments below. So after that, people still say to me, but I can't restring them. So that's why I'm not interested in one. And I'd like to counter that and say it's actually not as hard as you think, and I'm going to show you just how to do it. On the bench here we have a guitar that I recently completed, and as you can see it has a slotted headstock. So I will take you through the process of taking the strings off and then back on again. First and foremost, when changing any strings on a guitar, it's important to have it on a really strong bench, table, or even the floor, and have a support pillow for the neck, and making sure that there's something soft under the guitar so we don't have any nasty scratches. And now we're ready to change the strings. So when taking the strings off, we're going to start from the top strings and work our way down. So the first string I'm going to tackle is this one. The way that your strings may be on your guitar already could be different to what I've done here. So this bit may just have to be taken for use for after, once you've restrung it in my method, but hopefully it's a relatively easy way to do it going forward. So as you can see, my method is what I like to affectionately call the middle finger method, where it looks like somebody's giving the middle finger to the top of the headstock. So you can see the one finger coming up here, and I'm going to loosen it, and that will go round. And we're going to take it round one more time until the middle finger is pointing down, and then I'm simply going to reach in, grab it pointing up, which will release it from the post, and then I will take the string and disconnect it from this side and simply up and away. And I'm going to do that on all of the other strings. Once all the strings are loose, then I'll proceed to taking carefully the bridge pins. one other thing of note here is if you want to make sure, ideally, that your bridge pins stay in order. So if they're not marked in a little numbering system on the pins, then just make sure you place them down from left to right in order so that you remember, because the size of the pins can vary ever so slightly, which could mean that one pin in one hole fits better than another. So with your new strings, you want to insert the ball ends all in first before you start to put the strings in. Once all your strings are in, the first thing that you want to do is just make sure that the ball ends have engaged with the bridge, which more than anything just makes sure that there's no nasty surprises when you're tightening the strings and it suddenly engages and gives you a little bit of a fright. So just pulling on them all now. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is all of the strings that I'm not working on, I'm going to move to the opposite side of the guitar, and generally always keeping everything pretty tidy around me so things can't get anywhere near the instrument that could scratch or damage it. So I'll move all of the strings I'm not working on, and in opposite to the way that we take the strings off, this way we're working from the bottom up on both sides, so that we're always not getting tripped up by the path of the string that is further away. So we're going to work from the bottom E to the top and then from the high E to the top. So I'm going to take the bottom E string and we're going to take it to 1.5 past the post that we're working on. So if I'm working on this post, which is what I am, I'm going to take it 1.5 past, and I will have my nippers handy, and there doesn't need to be exact, but approximately take the string away and snip. There we go. Okay, so what we're then going to do, from the distance of, I'd say, just over 1 centimetre, maybe a little bit more, 1.5 centimetres, we're going to go have the post with the string facing upwards, and we're going to point down into the post, and then I'm going to make sure that I can see about that centimetre coming through on the bottom side, and I'm going to bend it towards the nut. Then I'm going to hold my finger there, and then I'm going to start to wind. And at that point, you start to feel, especially with the thicker strings, that it wants to kind of pull against you. And at that point, you do want to make sure that it has a really nice, clean bend. And I'm going to first of all be aiming to the right side of what I like to say the middle finger. So we're going to go round once. And then once we're around there, I'm going to go to the other side. And as you can see, I'm continuing to hold the string, applying that pressure to make sure that that wind stays nice and tight. But you can start to relax it a little bit after that first bend is done. And as it starts to tighten, I'm then going to place it into the slot. And that's it. So now we're going to continue on to the next one. Same process. 1, 1.5. So as well to mention, you don't need to bring these strings up to pitch as you're going. I just take it up to a tension where I just feel a little bit of tension on the string. Okay, starting on the opposite side, we're going to go for the high E. I also meant to add here that it's the opposite, as far as the winding is concerned, it's the opposite to what you did on the other side. So start on the left side and then end on the right. So now that the guitar is restrung, I hope you found this video helpful, and if you are interested in seeing more content about Turnstone guitars, about lutherie and other little tech advice, to be honest, if there's anything that you're interested in me talking about, then put it in the comments below. Otherwise, yeah, please subscribe and thank you for watching.